In human history, there have been three major revolutions, not pertaining to war or legislature, but rather how humans live out their daily lives and the ways by which they get materials needed for survival. The first is the agricultural revolution, which was the shift from hunting and gathering to farming, or simply the domestication of animals and plants to specifically fit a human's needs. The second is the Industrial Revolution, which came to the United States in the 18th century and dramatically changed the manufacturing process, bringing about new inventions such as the steam engine, the cotton gin, and also the telephone. The third and most prominent in our project is the Technological Revolution, also called the Digital Revolution, which started in 1947 with the invention of the transitor. But we are still living in this era today. It can be compared to the Industrial Revolution because many people and inventions influenced this new digital revolution, including Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and most prominently, Steve Jobs. In modern society, it is hard to imagine our lives without technology. In 2013, the number of smartphone subscribers increased by 21%, creating a total of 188 million new users in the US.
And then certainly the iPhone, I think, did a lot for the whole smartphone idea. Before then they were kind of ugly and clunky and a bunch of plastic buttons, and so I think Apple. And you think about smartphones. I mean, you think about how much. I mean, the typical dumb phone, an old cell phone with a flip-out keyboard. You just don't even. They're hard to find. I mean, it's like everybody's going to smartphones for the most part. So, and they're just little computers, and cell phones, and cameras, and video recorders, and music players.
It is easy to see that the mobile industry, and Apple in particular, has taken the US by storm. But most people don't know any information about the man who started it that is beyond his name, Steve Jobs. Jobs was born February 24, 1955, and was adopted and raised by his parents in southern San Francisco, which is nicknamed Silicon Valley because it contains many of the world's largest high-tech corporations. After traveling to India and converting to Buddhism, Jobs, a college dropout, paired up with Stephen Wozniak to create an experiment with computer logic boards in Jobs' basement. After leading a renowned group of engineers to create the original Macintosh, he began to work for companies such as Pixar. In 1996, he was able to successfully save Apple from a financial crisis under their new executive, Gilbert Amelio, and by 1997, he was chief executive again. By 2001, Jobs had completely reinvented Apple by creating the iPod and iTunes. The idea was revolutionary and led to the sale of over 1 billion songs or videos. In 2007, Jobs released the iPhone, launching Apple Incorporated into telecommunications. Unfortunately, as different versions of the iPhone were created, Jobs' health began to deteriorate due to a form of pancreatic cancer. He died on October 5, 2011, which sent thousands of people whose lives were already impacted by Apple into mourning for the man who reinvented the average phone and computer. The areas Jobs was strongest in was innovating, marketing, and advertising. He completely revolutionized the way people view phones by creating new means by which we can utilize them. In 1997, Jobs pioneered an award-winning Think Different campaign that launched them into publicity. Apple has won or co-won the CMO Survey Award for Marketing Excellence every year since 2008 by using principles such as empathy, focus, and impute, as well as simplifying their product and adhering to the emotional, family-oriented side of their audience.
Seems like Apple has a vision, a business model to focus on a few products. They don't want to focus on a ton of things. They focus on a few products and they do those few things very well. And so I think that there's something about, I think Apple has an understanding of the human experience. And this is part of Steve Jobs' legacy. From the idea that it's not just tech, it's art. And we're going to merge the two. So the way their Macs look, the way the iPhone looks, the way it feels in your hand. I mean, all of this are very human things. We're very physical beings. So I think there's something about that experience that people resonate with.
In an interview with Stephen Wozniak, Wozniak claimed that both he and Jobs saw a revolution coming because the computers they were creating were so unlike anything the rest of the world had seen. But they couldn't have imagined how successful their computers would be doing in a corporate society like today. Right now, Apple's net worth is approximately $700 billion. To put that in perspective, an article from Adrian LaFerrance states, if Apple were a country, it would be the 55th richest country in the world. Apple financially surpasses investors such as Walmart and Bill Gates' net worths combined. In the fourth quarter of 2014, Apple finally beat out Samsung for the most control in the American smartphone market, beating out Samsung by a small percent. Globally, it is the most dominant mobile phone brand in countries such as the US, Canada, China, and the UK, and telemarketing isn't even its only department. In 2014, Apple sold approximately 80 million iOS devices, creating over 130 million new iOS users, and in 2015 they are still growing by the millions, making it safe to say that it is one of the most influential companies history has ever seen. The digital revolution and the industrial revolution are very similar to each other. The Industrial Revolution can be defined as the enormous increase in population and boom in technology in the economy. Everything that had been done by hand became mechanized, and the world began to change. Those who were prosperous during this time period were entrepreneurs. They took advantage of the new technologies available to them and created products and services that had not existed before. One of those entrepreneurs who led to this period was Andrew Carnegie. Carnegie was a self-made steel tycoon and one of America's wealthiest men during the 19th century. Carnegie made his money by investing in many ventures such as oil and iron companies. During the 1870s, he transitioned into the steel business and within the next 2 decades became one of the most prominent forces. Carnegie's steel business affected America in an extremely positive way. He made creating bridges and skyscrapers feasible and gave people many jobs and opportunities. But in every great leader's reign, there is always a low point. Carnegie's was the strike at Homestead Mill. This strike had begun because the Amalgamated Association of Iron and Steel Workers were having a disagreement over wages between the steelmaker. This then took a savage turn when 300 Pinkerton detectives came to Carnegie's mill and were greeted with extreme violence. Gunshots and fires wreaked havoc all throughout the day and night until conflicts were finally solved. But even after this low point, Carnegie still managed to stay at the forefront of the steel industry and the Industrial Revolution. The digital revolution can be defined as the shift from industrialization to an economy based on the manipulation and exchange of data and information. This is the current age we are living in, and it is providing us with the opportunity to create wealth. Within the digital revolution, we've created and enhanced several things, such as vinyl to iPods, VHS to Blu-ray, payphones to cell phones, typewriters to computers, mail to email, film photography to digital photography, and the invention of the Internet. This revolution and some of these advances was led by none other than Steve Jobs. Jobs revolutionized our modern-day computer. Jobs believed that the computer could be more than just an office tool. With the introduction of Apple II came the iPod, the iPhone, and the iPad. Just like Carnegie, Jobs had a low point in his career too. After going through many unorthodox ways to make his computers and his company a success, Apple let Jobs go. Only later, after Apple came into major competition and began losing profits, did Apple rehire Jobs. All in all, Jobs and Carnegie are similar because they revolutionized a product, experienced a low point, and still managed to better the world through their products. Now, what really makes Steve Jobs a leader? Not just during the revolution, but throughout all of history. His innovation, his persistence, his integrity? Maybe. But what we think makes him a leader is that he never gave up on people. Steve Jobs always wanted people to push themselves and do better. Many will say he did that in the most unorthodox ways, but to him it was the only way to get people to really work and change the world. As for his legacy, Steve Jobs left an imprint on the world. He not only left us with a more enhanced sense of technology, but also a deeper drive to make something better. With these qualities, he led us into an everlasting revolution.